You are so going to end up in porno.
Top Gun Supply is the friendly gun shop. They are a Glock Blue Label dealer for military and first responders. So stop on by at Top Gun Supply at 525 State Road 16, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. The friendly gun shop, proud sponsor of the Armchair Quarterback.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays. Drive time? Find the Armchair Quarterback Show on Facebook today.
We live in a world now that welcomes and nurtures the screwball in all of us. Hey, it's a new decade, people. Time to get a little nutty. Treat yourself to Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, a smooth flavor that combines two of America's favorites, peanut butter and American whiskey. So no more social awkwardness. Time to embrace who you truly are. Get out there and make friends. And be sure it starts with Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. It's available nearly everywhere. Learn more at screwballwhiskey.com. Infinium Spirits. Please enjoy responsibly.
You're talking about a bunch of unproven kids who were in the prom. You know, literally, they were in the prom like 6 months ago at their high school.
No, they weren't because they were
locked down.
Exactly.
Okay, they were in a.
These are promless teenagers.
If he's from a Big Ten state,
they were in a.
If he's from a Big Ten state, he didn't have prom. I can guarantee you that.
They were at a virtual prom. Anyway, so yeah, it's tough for Wisconsin.
That's called porn. That's called porn.
Stop it. They get a break this week because I
got a mess to clean up, guys.
Yeah.
Virtual
There's
prom.
my walk off for the day. Thanks, Mac. I got to dry my keyboard out now.
Armchair.
Are you looking for the perfect gift for any sports fan or just looking to add some stuff to your own man cave? Then head on in to MVP Collectibles at the St. Augustine Outlets Mall. They carry Seminoles, Gators, Bulldogs, Canes, Longhorns, Bama, Buckeyes, Wolverines, Vols, you name it. They have Patriots, Jaguars, Titans, Dolphins, Browns, Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, whoever you're looking for. Yankees, Red Sox, Cardinals, Braves, whoever you like. The best selection you'll ever find for the sports fan that thinks they have it all. That's MVP Collectibles in the St. Augustine Outlets Mall, Suite 245, right across from the food court in the St. Augustine Outlets Mall. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6. Get your man cave popping today at MVP Collectibles.
You threw my sandwich away. My sandwich! My sandwich!
This year, choose a yogurt that's right for you. With 2 grams of sugar per 5.3 ounce serving. Too Good Greek yogurt is too good to be true. So Delicious dairy-free yogurt and Silk yogurt alternatives are delicious plant-based swaps you can enjoy by the spoon or add to recipes. Oikos 000 yogurt and Light and Fit yogurt are tasty, non-fat yogurt options. So many flavors, varieties, and possibilities. Elevate any recipe and your everyday with yogurt. Shop at Target.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was walking by a dry cleaner at 3 a.m. and the sign said, "Sorry, we're closed." You don't have to be sorry. It's 3 a.m. and you're a dry cleaner. It would be ridiculous for me to expect you to be open. I'm not going to walk in at 10 and say, hey, man, I walked by at 3. You guys were closed. Somebody owes me an apology.
Armchair.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks, CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. We got a full slate in Major League Baseball on Wednesday. It gets going at 12:35 Eastern as the White Sox finish up with the Pirates. Dylan Cease up against DeYoung. At 1:10 Eastern, you got the Cards in Detroit. John Gant is expected for the Redbirds. Nats and Phillies at 1:05. Fetty back on the mound, but this time it's up against Wheeler. 3:40 Eastern, Woodruff takes his 1.94 ERA up against the Arizona Diamondbacks in the desert and Caleb Smith. And at 4:07, Gausman's back at it again with his 1.51 ERA in the City of Angels. Los Angeles will send Griffin Canning. At 4:10, you've got the Marquez Express and the Colorado Rockies up against the Mariners and Justice Sheffield. Evening action will get you started at 7:05 Eastern. Royals and Yankees. King versus Bubik. And at 7:10, it's Max Fried up against Joe Lachesi, finishing up their series. And at 7:10 Eastern, Garrett Richards and the Boston Red Sox are in Tampa to take on Rich Hill and the Tampa Bay Rays. Astros and Orioles, Urquidy on the mound with his 3.65 ERA. Blue Jays and Marlins, 7:10 Eastern, that can be seen on the Plus. A's and Rangers at 8:05. As old Fulte tries to get off the schneid against Oakland, he's 1-7 on the year. And at 10:10 Eastern on ESPN, Trevor Bauer versus Joe Musgrove, the Friars up against them Bums. Tonight in the NBA, it's Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks head to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks and the Greek Freak, who had this matchup way back in December. The action gets going at 8:30 Eastern on TNT. And in the Stanley Cup playoffs, a possible deciding game number 6 is in New York as the Islanders host the Lightning. All hands on deck. In case you missed it, Eli Manning is back with the New York Giants. His official capacity with the organization is in a business operations and fan engagement role. He also will work on original content development, which includes a new lifestyle series that premieres this fall. Essentially, it's a PR job. Manning, retired after the 2019 season, is 40 years old, following a franchise record 16 seasons as Giants quarterback. Quote, "I'm willing to do anything, but I'm focused on the business side with corporate partners and on community relations, which was always so important to me. I'm looking forward to seeing where I can make the most impact in helping the Giants achieve their business and community goals." End quote. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Sean O'Toole.
Good morning, Mr. Mac McGee. And I don't know much, but as you can tell from my getup and my background, we got the #1 pick, baby. Let's go, Pistons. Bad boys for life. Let's roll. Cade Cunningham, come on down.
Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. The Pistons will make that draft pick before that damn game ended last night. That was the longest second in the history of sports, and the NBA needs to clean it up. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Hi, guys, got a minute?
Sure. What's up?
Well, I was thinking about Sheldon's little joke the other night about me eating all your food.
No, that was no joke.
Anyway, I got a little residual check from my commercial, and I thought, hey, how about I get the guys a little thank you to pay them back? So Sheldon, ta-da!
A vintage mint-in box 1975 Mego Star Trek transporter with real transporter action. Hot darn!
You're welcome. Don't worry, I didn't forget about you. Leonard, I got you a transporter too!
Look, it was actually designed for my vintage Mr. Spock action figure.
Oh, that's great. Let's open it up and put them in there.
No, good Lord, no.
Why, they're just toys.
Once you open the box, it loses its value.
Yeah, my mom gave me the same lecture about my virginity. I gotta tell you, it was a lot more fun taking it out and playing with it. Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man with a groove in his head.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Mac McGee and Sean O'Toole. Sean, how the hell are you, sir?
Tell you, I can't think of a lot of days lately that have been a lot better than that. Pistons get the number one pick. Everybody knows I have a particular affinity for the Phoenix Suns. I have family out there. They're up 2-0. The Montreal Canadiens are one win away from putting the Vegas Knights in mothballs. The Braves beat the Mets, and 2 Mets pitchers got injured in a single day. I can't come up with it. And the Tigers beat the pants off the Cardinals. I can't come up with a lot of better sports days I've had lately. How about you?
I'd be better off if Max Fried was pitching today. We'll take our chances. Right. We'll see what we'll see what Bozo the Clown does.
On the bright side, and this is not Braves country, Morton has been lights out his last couple of starts. He has been really, really good. Really good.
He has.
He seems to have given up on that changeup and has just gone curveball. So, and nobody's hitting it. So
yeah, and
that's something.
And I'm just hoping that they don't check his cap or something.
They're doing that after every inning.
Yeah, it is that good of a pitch. Even I flipped over to the Mets broadcast just to hear their reaction, and they were like, "Man, that thing is just dancing all over the place. You can't hit it." Now, I will say this: he did it against a really bad Mets offense. The Mets offense is just putrid.
Bad.
Funny every year, Sean. Every year, I listen to not just the local New York media, as you know, I do every morning because I like to get a feel of what's going on up in the Big Apple. But it's also on, and I don't know if it's because they're New York, if that what the reasoning is, but every single year, MLB Network does the same thing, where they talk about how good the Mets offense is going to be, and every year I'm like, how? Who the hell did they get signed? What? I mean, James McCann's gonna freaking bring. He's gonna be the bringer of rain.
Stop it!
Like, what are we talking about? Every single year, they don't go up. And their big acquisition this year, Lindor, who obviously usually plays much better, terrible. He's been a good teammate. I will give him that because I've watched him just as a teammate, as a player, as a person. He's done a very good job with that. Like the way he went out to the mound, and when this is right after Stroman was hurt, and
I saw it.
And they brought the kid, was it Diaz?
Diaz, not Reyes, Diaz.
Yeah, so he goes over and he gives them like a pep talk. That I mean, that to me is being a good teammate. But it means more if it's Acuna giving you a pep talk because he's like, dude, I got you. You know, Lindor says, I got you. Like, you got what? You're going to try to draw a walk maybe and then get thrown out. What the hell do you got over there? I think they wasted $300 million. I'm just going to put that out there, man. And I at the time they were doing it, I was like, I just don't think this guy's elite. I think he's very good, and he's just having a down part of his year. He'll be fine, but I never thought he was worth $300 million is a guy like Tatis. Acuna, Trout,
Soto,
Mookie Betts. So guys that I'm not going to say that they are slump proof, but they're so elite that the slumps are few and far between because they're just that gifted of an athlete, right?
Barring injury, potential yearly MVP candidates. Yeah, Lindor's a 5-star defensive player. and I think at best a 3-star offensive player. And he's been like a 1.5-star this year. Really quick, because I know you want to do batting practice on another topic. Did you see the Scherzer Girardi thing? I'm sure you did. What's your thoughts about? Yeah, Girardi's not someone I'm a fan of. I actively do not like him, and never have.
So for folks,
that seemed like he was trying to get in Scherzer's head by continuing to do it. And I love that Max stared him down. I was all.
Well, let me stop you, because y'all just always assume everyone listening and watching knows what the hell we're talking about. For y'all didn't miss that. Girardi asked for Scherzer to be checked. The short of it is Scherzer got pissed. Scherzer stared him down, walking back to his dugout. Then Girardi motioned towards his dugout. He said after the game that he was not trying to incite the Nationals dugout. It was actually directed towards a couple of coaches that he had worked with, that they were basically jawing at each other. I'm sure they were like, "How dare you?" And he's like, "How dare you?" That kind of thing. Regardless, it's a bad look, and if a player does that, you get a suspension. I expect a suspension by Manfred's commission, whatever the hell you want to call that clown show of an office at this point. But Girardi should be suspended. I also feel like knock it off with the coaches being able to challenge. Knock it off. That was stupid from the get-go. When I saw they were going to allow the manager to go, "You need to check it." No. Shut your damn trap, coach your damn team. And if there's something that comes out, yes. But to just crack down and they did it to Cole. They did it to several pitchers last night. They did it to who was it that's basically stripped naked? Sergio Romo of the Oakland A's. This is going to get worse before it gets better, because it was poorly done. It's being poorly executed, and we'll just put a pin in that, because we don't have enough time to dive deep into that. But I'm sure as the days go on, we're just going to have more and more fodder to be able to add to this. Now, what we do want to do for the first part of the show, we'll go ahead and get out of batting practice and get into the first quarter of the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show. Bo Schembechler scandal at University of Michigan. I've been waiting for a Michigan man to be on. When it first broke last week, there was very little information on it, so that's why we didn't do it last Wednesday. I wanted to give you a week or so to be able to absorb it all. So what say you on this? Because I do think it's worth covering, but I think a lot of people are kind of in the dark of what's really going on.
Yeah, so I mean, the report is simply that, and I'm going to not get his first name right. There was a sports doctor, basically the team doctor. His last name was Anderson. He was part of the University of Michigan's football program for most of the time that Bo was there, into the 60s and 70s. There have been accusations from Bo's, I think it's oldest son, Mark, might be his youngest son, I can't remember, and a bunch of ex-players, that the doctor, in the time he was at the University of Michigan, was basically abusive towards players, physically, just some really awkward, stuff. And that apparently several players had told the athletic director in the late 60s, early 70s, Don Canham, about it, and that Canham was prepared to fire Anderson until Schembechler intervened and defended Doc Anderson's job. That's the report anyways from, and I did get it right, it's Matt Schembechler. Now, on the flip side of this, everybody who's being accused in this is no longer alive. Schembechler passed away in 2006, right? Anderson passed away in 2008. Canham died in, I think it was 2004, 2002. Like all the people that are accused here, there's no statute of limitations on this crime, but you're not going to be able to punish any of them because they're all gone. I'm not sure what the purpose of this was. I really don't. It's far afield for me to say it, but there's been a lot of reporting over the years, and if you want to look for it, you can find it, that Bo Schembechler did not exactly have a great relationship with the people closest to him, especially his family. That's not a big surprise. He was a somewhat irascible guy. But
so to me, for him to wait this long, the only reason, the only motive he has is to tarnish his dad's name. That's the
or a financial motivation if he's trying to get something out of the university.
Or that,
yeah.
But you would think the Schembechlers would be all right money wise, but who knows? Maybe he
he got paid a lot of money when he was the
Maybe he
president of the
doubled down
Tigers,
on,
which was a job he was not qualified for.
Maybe he doubled down on Marcus Stroman and the Mets last night and said, "Uh-oh, what do we do here?"
It's a tough way for Michigan
Remember
to
this
be.
guy?
Yeah.
I found this in the store the other day. I don't know if you can hear this or not.
I used to love that.
Mr. Bill, man.
Mr. Bill. Oh, no.
Oh, no. I don't know why.
Mr. Bill,
my wife was looking at me like, what is this? And why do I not know what it is? I'm like, I think it's a tad before your time. And I was like, and she was never a Saturday Night Live person. She had no idea what I was talking about.
we would do that in the restaurants we would work in. I mean, you told me you and I had one of the hardest I've ever laughed in my life was you telling me about some kid that worked for you in a restaurant somewhere and dropped chicken on the floor and thought he'd wash it off with chemical sanitizer. And the first thing I thought of was Mr. Bill. I was like, oh no!
Some of the stupidity of the I probably need to do a show again on that. We did a show called Restaurant Revealed, and we did it like twice, and it was a lot of fun. We did it after hours drinking. We did it podcast form, but we probably need to bring that back to YouTube. I'll have to put a pin in that and see if some of y'all who have been in the restaurant business want to have some with that.
There are stories I've forgotten that people would remind me of. I'd be like, oh my God. I mean, there's so many of them. It's just like, it's like if the movie Waiting was 20 hours long, it's like a 30-part Netflix documentary. But back to batting practice. It's notable that this week, more than 100 former players and associates of Schembechler, signed a letter basically, to the media saying, we don't buy this. This is not the person we knew. I was never mistreated under Schembechler's care. Notably, Jim Harbaugh, that's not a big surprise, but even his father, Jack was, a Schembechler assistant for years before he took the program over at Western Kentucky, where he kind of made his name. Lots of former players, Jumbo Elliott.
I expect them to. The thing is, I really do expect. I think the only way this becomes a bigger scandal than what it already is if several people come forward and say it happened to me. It happened to me, because of course Harbaugh's got a heavy stake in the game. He's not going to go, oh yeah, he was diddling me, and he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that because he currently works at university. It would be a bad look for the entire university, and so it's going to have to. It's not going to have to be like a Deshaun Watson 22 needs to pop up, but I'd say more than just his son of notoriety. I would say you'd have to have a few more kids come forward, and if there is some validity to it, I think they will. But, at this point, there's not a whole lot to take from it because it's like you said, everybody's dead, or the person who's crying wolf, you just don't know if you can trust them because of their ulterior motives, because he and his dad never got along. So is it motivated by money? Did something happen and he never actually told his dad, and that's the lie, right? So you just don't know what it is. I am interested to see how far this goes, because if it's anything like the Joe Paterno stuff thing that went down, I mean, that was just a terrible look. And I still say the NCAA is absolutely wrong across the board for reinstating his wins, because when they took his wins away and then gave them right back, it gave a really mixed message that it's okay to cheat, it's okay to look the other way, because eventually we're just going to say, well, you did win the games. The wins being taken and not taken doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, right? But I just thought that was a terrible look. No one's ever going to respect Joe Paterno. They're just not. And if you ask any Florida State fan who's the all-time, winningest coach in the history of college football, we're going to say Bobby Bowden. Because if you're going to take his 24 wins away, which essentially is what put Paterno above Bowden,
right,
or an academic scandal he had no knowledge of, if you're going to take those wins away there, how the hell do you not take away the wins when Sandusky was diddling the entire freaking half the state of Pennsylvania, and Paterno, who had his office was right next door to his. So that part right there will always burn deep with me. And I know Penn State fans are like, they've got their take, but they're wrong. Us Florida State fans, we know. Like, one of the things you say about Bobby Bowden, that was a good guy no matter what you say. You can say whatever you want. That guy was a good guy, and Paterno was not. Okay, let's move on from that. The NHL, real quick. Montreal takes the lead, which I think is shocking a lot of people, especially you, because last week you were ready to shovel dirt on the Canadians, and the series hadn't even really got going. How shocked are you that they're going back to Montreal and it's tied now?
Well, no, they're up 3-2. I mean, they can close it
out.
I'm
sorry, not tied.
No, I know what you meant.
That they're going back to Montreal and they have a chance to end it on their home ice is what I meant to say.
I mean, I'm shocked. I'm also, kind of pleasantly surprised. I'm happy to be wrong for most notably Shea Weber, who, I'm sure Justin will have something to say about that when he's on the show this week. But, just a great Predator, someone I saw a lot because he was there when I was going to games before, I had kids and had to move to the suburbs and didn't have free time. But it's really surprising. Again, the whole year, the consensus opinion was that the North was kind of the weakest division of the four. Those teams were going to beat up on each other, and whoever came out of there was going to get boat raced in the playoffs. And, Vegas came in with a lot of mustard, on the sandwich because they beat what everybody believed was going to be the runaway Stanley Cup champion in the Colorado Avalanche. It didn't just beat them. I mean, they whooped them in 4 straight, and it didn't look competitive. So I am very surprised. I see how Montreal is doing it. They're playing tough in the middle of the ice. They're forcing turnovers in the neutral zone and putting a lot of pressure on Vegas's, front 6 forwards who have some playoff experience, but, haven't really done anything. The most they've done is, played for the final, lost to the Capitals. And some of the guys on this team, a lot of the guys on this team weren't on that team. So they're really doing all the right things. I'll be very curious to see if Pete DeBoer puts Robin Lehner back in goal because Marc-Andre Fleury has not looked well the last 2 starts. And Lehner
they were
completely
dying now. It's kind of at the point where you're like, I can't screws around. You know what I mean?
No, you absolutely can't. So I think we'll see Lehner in goal for game 6, but man, however many fans they have in the stands in Montreal, I think they were up to about 5,000 in the last game. We'll see how much higher the province is willing to go. This is the biggest game in Canadians, franchise since they won the cup in 93. So it's going to be amazing to watch. I can't wait for Thursday. And go Habs. I hope they pull it off.
And for people who aren't hockey fans, the Canadiens not winning a championship since 93 is literally like the New York Yankees not winning a championship since 93.
Yep.
They are the hockey royalty, and they've just sucked for years. So to me, for the sport, especially for the Canadian fans, it's good to see that in a perfect world, we're going to get the New York Islanders to pull off the ultimate upset and win tonight. Yep. And then Friday night in Tampa. I'm not expecting that. This very well could be the very last game played in the barn, as we call it, Nassau County Coliseum, as they are expected to get. They're getting a new stadium. The question is they don't know if it's going to be ready or not because of the mayor and the governor up there who had so many restrictions. It's been difficult to finish construction on the new stadium. They hope it's ready by the beginning of next year, but they might go, this is so terrible. The last game ever played in the barn. And then somewhere around November, they're back in there again. because his name is de Blasio. Let's go ahead and dive into the DFS and pick'ems of the day, as we've got a full slate. Nothing better than a full slate when you're talking about the actual baseball DFS. If people haven't played baseball DFS, I'm telling you, it's worth getting in on. It's worth playing because to me, baseball DFS is probably more fun than any other of the DFS. The NFL is fun, but
NFL is pretty close. I would say 1A and 1B, but you're right. I agree.
It's so much better than, if you've ever done basketball or hockey, this is greater than, because there's just so much, there's strategy you can believe in with some of the others, DFSs, golf. You're just out there just, I mean, you're literally playing the roulette wheel. Okay. Today we've got a slew of games, and where are you going with your pitchers? Give me one pitcher and who you stacking.
Okay, so I have two pitchers. I've already entered a DraftKings lineup. I'm gonna regret. I may regret doing it later. I'm starting Matt Manning. That's not my pick. He looked really good in his first start, and St. Louis hasn't been able to hit anything for what feels like weeks. But you mentioned him in the sports flash. The Marquez train pitches tonight at Seattle against a real punch and Judy offense. For people, and you would be forgiven, any of our listeners or viewers, if you haven't seen a lot of Rockies games this year. Marquez is good. Marquez is really good. He's got number one starter stuff. Now he'll get himself in trouble if he doesn't get strikes early. He'll start to throw it in the middle just to try and get back into it. But I like him at Seattle. He's only 6,500, which is way below some of the top flight pitchers of the day. The one hitter I'm going to focus in on, I mean, all the stacks for me are the White Sox at Pittsburgh against DeYoung. Supposed to have good weather, not an issue there. I'm taking Abreu at 4,800, who's really the best choice. Kind of a sneaky underside would be that Washington-Philly matchup. Philly's trotting out Velasquez. Washington's trotting out Fetty. I've seen both of these guys pitch. They're not very good. So you can also get a lot of value there. Maybe not as much on the Harpers and Sotos of the world, but Schwarber's there at 4,200. If he can give it a go today. Real Muto's only 5,300. You can get a lot of value out of that game. So those are the two games I like the most: White Sox, Pittsburgh, Washington, Philly.
Okay, I'm going Dylan Cease and Ohtani are the two pitchers that I would stack, mainly because of who they're playing. Cease is playing the Pirates, and Ohtani's playing San Francisco's offense. And so, though San Francisco is a very good team, their offense is not the most imposing. And I also like the actual price of them, 94 and the 86. I think that's very, very reasonable. And then if I'm stacking, I think, looking at all the starting pitchers across the board is obviously how you normally go on who you stack. I think I would probably stack the Cardinals against Manning. Manning didn't blow anyone away. He was solid. If I was going to go another route, because I'm not, maybe I stack the White Sox against DeYoung.
Okay.
My only caveat to that, as I'm putting a lineup in today, do I want Dylan Cease and the Chicago White Sox offense? Because if they go out and have a bad day for whatever reason, went out and tore up the town last night or whatever, that's a lot to have involved in your DraftKings lineup. What's your pick of the day on the picks against the spread?
Well, to quote Roy McAvoy from Tin Cup, ride or till she bucks you don't ride at all. I have made some money on the Atlanta Hawks lately. They are +8 in Milwaukee in game one. Give me the +8. I don't know that they're actually going to win, but I'm willing to bet they won't get blown out. I'm hearing a lot of NBA prognosticators saying the matchups this year, Milwaukee roasted Atlanta, yada, yada, yada. Look, Trae Young didn't play in 2 of those 4 games. John Collins didn't play in 3 of those 4 games. I'm a believer. I'm all in on the Hawks team. Caw-caw. Let's go. +8.
Even if Milwaukee wins, I just feel like that's a lot of points. And
it is a lot of points in the NBA playoffs.
So I ran a teaser last night and got the W with the Suns, barely, but they were 4.5-point favorites. So I ran a 4-point teaser last night. The line was 7.5 with the Hawks. So I'm getting 11.5 tonight to complete my teaser. I've been doing really well on baseball, personally across the board. I hate talking about it because I just feel like you're going to jinxie, but I'm going to go ahead and go baseball again today. I am going to bet on Danny Duffy coming back today, getting a 1.5 at the -150 line against Michael King, who is pedestrian at best. So I'll take the Royals +1.5. Duffy coming off the IL against the Yankees, +1.5. I really like that one. The other one that I was torn at, and that I know I'll play today is Rich Hill at home against the Red Sox, -140. He's going up against Garrett Richards, who gives up some runs. And my man Wander, dude. Ooh, we're not Wander no more. Wander Franco, baby. What an entrance to Major League Baseball.
He has arrived.
You know what? So they're showing the clips of all these MLB players having to take off. You know what I would do with this whole, you're making me strip thing? This is how you stop it. You go out there in a bright yellow banana hammock tee back. And when they tell you to drop trowel, boom, you get right there. You might even have a joke on there and have like an elephant trunk on your at the front of your junk. Do something to just freak everyone, because I don't want to see that again. And just lean into it. I think it'd be funny as hell.
I think that would.
Don't shave your ass. Don't shave your ass. Just have hairy ass, tee back, banana hammock, and I'd be swinging around. Like, what, baby? What? You want some?
I would say that's a surefire way to be the lead story on SportsCenter.
Speaking of that, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Carl, the guy that came out in the National Football League for
Nassib.
How does he pronounce it?
Nassib. Nassib.
Okay, because I didn't know if it was Nassib, because honestly, he's not a very good player. He's okay, but I'd never heard of him before.
Second string defensive end. I knew his name, but
right. I'd never heard his name pronounced. I'd seen him on stat sheets.
No, I got you.
Because he literally is just not very good. But since he made the comment, I know it's a very quick. Since he made the statement, #1 selling jersey in the National Football League over the last couple of days. Fun news and notes right there. I'm sure it's got something to do with the fact we're in the middle of Gay Pride Month, so they're like, I know what I'm wearing to the parade. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Go Raiders, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we got a lot to get to and a little bit to do. We're going to do 3 college football teams from 2 Power 5 conferences, all when we come back in the NBA playoffs.
I'm not playing your stupid game.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Stay locked in on Armchair Quarterbacks Radio. Always just moments away from the big play.
Here's Cunningham. Dodges left and puts it way downfield for Fred Barnett, who has the catch. And the race is on. There are no flags. A 95-yard touchdown.
The ball just over the goal line of the Cowboys. Dorsett, single setback. Big opening for Tony Dorsett. Look out, he's got great speed. 99 yards and a half. Dorsett down the sideline. Stays in bounds. Can you believe that? 99.5-yard run, I think, is the longest run in the history of the league.
Here's Cunningham back to throw it and going deep, and he's got Moss, and there's a flag on the play, and Moss has caught the pass and is in the end zone anyway. Touchdown. Just throw it as far as you can.
Randy Moss is amazing. Randall Cunningham is amazing.
This year, choose a yogurt that's right for you. With 2 grams of sugar per 5.3-ounce serving, Too Good Greek yogurt is too good to be true. So Delicious dairy-free yogurt and Silk yogurt alternatives are delicious plant-based swaps you can enjoy by the spoon or add to recipes. Oikos 000 yogurt and Light and Fit yogurt are tasty, non-fat yogurt options. So many flavors, varieties, and possibilities. Elevate any recipe and your everyday with yogurt. Shop at Target.
The Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live. We're talking SEC and ACC, college baseball, and college softball, all the way through spring and summer until we have a champion. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
Make contact.
A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
Siegfried and Roy, the tiger bit the man in the head, and everybody's mad at the tiger. Talk about the tiger went crazy. That tiger ain't go crazy. That tiger went tiger.
One more time around the sun, I take it, I run around this world rock.
Welcome back. Good morning on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, Sean O'Toole Wednesdays. And he is back to being a Detroit fan again. Sean, is there any way in hell that they don't draft your boy from Oklahoma State?
There's always a way for me to be disappointed. I'm 44 years old, about to be. I mean, I've run out of ways to be surprised at how I can be disappointed, but I don't see it. There's some opinion that they might take the center out of USC, Mobley. I just don't see that because they already have someone that I think they like to prowl the paint in Isaiah Stewart, who they took out of Washington last year and was on, the all rookie second team. So I just don't see it. Cunningham I heard a lot about Cunningham before he ended up at Oklahoma State. I watched a lot of him thinking that the Pistons would be bad and maybe we'd have a chance at him. They obviously made a nice run in the tournament, got to the Sweet 16 before they fell off. He's a genuine article. And with the roster they already have assembled and some money to spend this offseason in free agency, he makes perfect sense. I mean, you put him at the small guard / small forward position for the next 15 years. And worst case scenario, he could become, I don't know, a poor man's, Kawhi Leonard, little less defense, a little more offense. That's his measurables. He's tall, he's got long arms, great shooter. I just don't see any way they don't take him. He's exactly what that franchise needs, a volume scorer.
Yeah, he was disappointing in the NCAA tournament, but I wouldn't put much stock into that. He's proven over his time at Oklahoma State that he's one of the best players I think one of the best all around scorers to come out in the draft in quite some time. So he's not like some of the other guys where you're like, man, he's really raw. We're gonna have to wait 2-3 years. I think he steps in instantly as a starter and probably averages 14 to 15 points a game as a rookie. He's possibly more, but it really depends on his usage. Okay, real quick with the NBA before we dive into college football, because we only have a little time to get all this in. We've got the Hawks series starting tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking the Hawks to win it all? The Eastern Conference?
As what I would like to see, I would love to see Suns Hawks as a final. That would be great. I mean, that's two fan bases who, could really use, the Suns haven't been in the finals in what will now be 28 years, almost 3 decades. The Hawks have really never been. I mean, I think they have an ABA, visit maybe. I don't know, but they definitely never have
been to the Eastern Conference Finals.
They've never been to the NBA Finals. The Bucks haven't been since the 70s or 60s, since Lou Alcindor was there. I mean, we're going to get a great finals no matter what.
70, I think was their year. It was either 70 or 70.
Yeah, 70 or 71. They have a championship, but I
want to say this is the 50th anniversary of that.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. We'll say that. It's longer than I've been alive. So I'm definitely pulling for the Hawks. I hope they can pull it off. I don't want to draw too much out of the meetings this year, because the meetings this year, the Hawks were missing people, important players on their roster in every meeting. Now, if they don't get Bogdanovich back for the first couple games of this series, then it's going to be really tough. They don't really have someone to handle Middleton. Giannis isn't as much as the problem. They've got Capella. It sucks they don't have DeAndre Hunter, because DeAndre Hunter defended him really well in the regular season. They're not going to have him for the rest of the playoffs. But, if I had to put money on it, gun to my head, oh I would say we're getting Bucks Suns would be the most likely outcome, but I would really like to see Hawks Suns. That would be great for the NBA. Young teams with young stars and Booker and Trae Young. And Giannis is that too. So I don't want to discount that. But
I really hope they let freaking Chris Paul back in here soon too. This is asinine.
They will. He'll be back at least by game 4. I mean, they're already up 2-0. And the Clippers look like they're no match for the Suns. I'm not surprised without Kawhi.
He's vaccinated. What the hell are we talking about here? It's so asinine.
He tested positive. I guess you can still carry it to people who haven't been vaccinated.
When you're vaccinated, there's a strong likelihood. That's why the doctors. That's why the CDC says that you shouldn't be tested for 3 months, because you very well could test positive, and that's what's going on here. And this is why it's so asinine. It's the same thing that happened with John Rahm. It's like, get it together, man. Look, the CDC might have made some mistakes or whatever, but when even they are saying you don't have to test somebody who's been vaccinated, why the hell are they? I'll tell you why it is. It's a very telling sign how many NBA players are not getting tested or are not getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
And remember when it all started, they were at the forefront saying we're going to get our players. They have a terrible vaccination rate. I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't want to quote it, but when I saw it before, it was pathetic. And
Major League Baseball is the best. If we're going to put I mean, we're quick to pour dirt on Manfred's grave, but the major league teams have all done their job. The Tigers were 100% a month ago.
That has nothing to do with Manfred.
I know it has nothing to do with Manfred. I'm just saying.
I think it has to do with the players going, I don't want to freaking get tested. Because if you're Major League Baseball, you got to do it every day. And now I'm getting vaccinated. Peace. Jab me. All right, I'm done. I would be doing this. If I was playing professional sports, look, I understand that some people don't want to take the vaccination. We won't get into that. But if you're playing professional sports, you're an idiot if you don't do it. Because if you're that set against it, then just don't play sports. Okay. But if you're actually out there playing professional sports, you're an idiot if you don't do it. But the NBA is still testing people, and that's what's asinine. I don't believe the NHL is testing people either. So you're talking about the same semblance of two sports that are in their playoffs, and they're both contact sports. I don't believe, from my understanding, if you've been vaccinated from the NHL, you don't get tested. But the NBA is still doing it. Like this is November 2020 or hell, September.
The NHL is definitely still testing unvaccinated personnel because the coach of the Canadians has not been on the bench for the last 3 games because he tested positive.
Vaccinated, so. I'm pretty sure that they've.
Yeah, they're not testing vaccinated players.
And Chris Paul's been vaccinated, and so that's why the whole thing's maddening. All right, we'll move on from that because we only got a little time to jump into this. Let's go to the Arizona State Sun Devils. We are trying to do more of just, we don't want to just hear talk about Alabama for the next, 7 weeks. So we are trying to we're not just trying to broaden but we're trying to broaden your fandom and your knowledge. Granted, we're not going to do deep dives into the depth chart of Northwestern today, but we're just going to talk about where we think they are. So Arizona State, we'll do them first because we'll go through their entire schedule. The other two will be much quicker, much less painful. But Arizona State, the reason I wanted to talk to them because I like Herm Edwards a lot, and I do just tend to, if he's playing a late night game, I try to keep my eye on Arizona State. They start off with Southern Utah and UNLV. I think we both believe that those will be wins.
Those are both wins.
Then they're at BYU, who no longer has Zach Wilson. We'll see what BYU has, but I'm kind of leaning towards, I would think that they're going to start the season off 3-0, wouldn't you?
Yeah, BYU is going to be a tough game because Kalani Sitake is not going to have, that team's not going to lay down. This is not Bronco, this is not Bronco Mendenhall's BYU anymore. They're a lot tougher, especially at the lines of scrimmage. But yeah, losing Zach Wilson's a huge blow to Sitake. I don't know. I know who they have coming in to replace Wilson, but I don't know. We don't know what he's going to do.
Right. So for all intents and purposes, we'll put them at 3-0 going into Pac-12 play, where they'll play Colorado at UCLA at home against Stanford. Where do you see them halfway through the season? because I think there's a decent chance they could be 6-0.
Yeah, I got all the way to the USC game before I had a certified loss. I'd keep an eye on that game at Utah, but yeah, I think 5-1 or 6-0 is reasonable. They could get tripped up at BYU or at home against Colorado. Colorado was, for people who didn't watch a lot of Pac-12 last year, Colorado was a frisky team. You weren't blowing them out by 3 touchdowns, but they could absolutely be 6-0 going into that game at Utah. You mentioned it. They have after that, they have their hardest game, which is USC, but it's at home, and they completely dodge Oregon this year. So, yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting for the Fighting Herms.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I picked them picked them to go over, because I think they're going to have a hell of a year. When you look at Utah and you look at Colorado, both of those teams are replacing their starting quarterback this year. That's a big deal in college football, especially now. Look, the Utah game, they're not going to play till October. So you could have the seasoning of Utah's offense, especially considering the fact that Utah has a senior, Charlie Brewer, going to be under center. But Colorado, exact opposite. They got a kid taking over. He is a freshman, Brendan Lewis. I read a couple articles on him, but haven't not actually seen him play. So I've got them undefeated going into USC. And it could be all hands on deck, college game day in Tempe kind of ball game.
Yep.
Now, logic tells you they probably fall before that, because that game's not until November 6th. And they probably lose a game. They could trip up at UCLA. The Stanford game's intriguing at Utah. It could be a war of attrition, because the one problem that, and we'll see what happens in his sophomore year again with Jaden Daniels, is technically his junior year. The Arizona State offense just has not done anything. Essentially, they've been very stagnant. If he can take that next step, Arizona State has a very good chance of making a run in the Pac-12 for a possible championship. And so I actually have them winning the Pac-12 South this year. That's the short of it. I do think they'll have a blemish, maybe 2, hell, maybe even 3. But I've got Arizona State winning the Pac-12 South as the division lines up. What say you?
I got them finishing second behind USC. Still think USC is the class of the division. And I think Colorado and Utah.
Are you a Slovis guy? I swear when I see his name, I don't know why, but I always think of like some bad 1980s Rusky movie. Gidon Slovis coming to your town. It's like,
I just think USC's got the most talent on both sides of the ball. We'll do their breakdown, as we get closer to college football season. But I don't think Colorado and Utah are far behind either. Yeah, Colorado's starting a true freshman quarterback, which is always pretty dicey. But Utah's returning a lot of starters and could actually be a surprising team. They could easily finish, third right on Arizona State's heels. But I agree they're at least the second best team in the division. Jaden Daniels, the talent is there. You can see it when he plays. They just haven't provided him with a vertical passing game to keep defenses honest. They basically count to 3 and then, bring the house. And that was the issue with him late last year, was he wasn't able to adapt to that because he couldn't make that second, third, fourth read. And Arizona State has not struggled to get skill players over the years. I mean, Brandon Ayuk came out of there. They've had guys who've made it to the next level of football coming out of there playing at the tight end and at the skill positions. So we'll see what Herm has dialed up. I'll be curious to see how much of the national news around, the NCAA investigating the program, how much that impacts, the program at all. I don't think that coaches and players really care much about that stuff until decisions are rendered. But anytime the NCAA is sniffing around your program, that's usually not a good thing. So we'll see if that has any impact at all. But they're at least the second best team in the division, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would be terribly disappointed if we found out that Herm Edwards was doing something dirty. That would be very, very disappointing. Okay, let's move over to the Big Ten. as we'll do Rutgers first, because I'm highly interested in what Rutgers is doing over there in New Jersey. I believe that they are going to have a program that is on the rise, very much so. Do I think they're going to break through this year? Probably not. They're probably going to sit around. What do you got? 7 teams in each division. I figure they'll finish in front of Illinois. Outside of that, it's a crapshoot. And the fact, though, that they're bringing back 11 starters on offense, okay, and 8 starters on defense on a team that last year they went 3-6, okay, but they had some really big games that could have went either way. The overtime loss against Michigan is one of the ones that jumps out at me because I remember watching. I watched at least the entire second half of that game. I feel like I watched the whole game, but I know I watched the second half of that game because I had some skin in the game. Rutgers was a good play. They might have only been 3-6 on the docket. They were very, very advantageous to take out in Vegas. We'll just put it that way.
I think they covered 7 of their 9 games. I remember you and I talked about this. They were
that
in
sounds about right.
Game, just about.
That sounds about right because we had an incredible record in the NFL on our Sunday show.
Mm-hmm.
My college record was pretty close to that, and a lot of it was attributed to the Scarlet Knights because they were just everyone's like, oh, the Rutgers, they suck. Well, everyone forgets that Greg Schiano is back, and he built something to Rutgers one time. I think he can do it again. They most prognosticators, most what they call them, prognosticators. Had a brain fart there. Have him finishing around 6th or 7th in the division, and I can see that. I can see the argument for that, but I'm actually kind of bullish on them this year, and I think they could finish in the upper echelon of the toughest division in the Big Ten. And I'm not saying they're going to finish 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, but I think they might be able to slide into 4th. They definitely could get into 5th because if memory serves me correctly, this is the same division that Michigan State's in, correct?
Correct.
And Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Rutgers is going to finish above both of them. I think, Michigan State is just an absolute disaster.
Yeah, Mel Tucker's got some work to do there.
Yeah,
it'll take him a while.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have left Colorado, but anyways, I think I would have let some other guy clean it up, and then I come in 3 or 4 years later and save the day.
Right.
But with all that being said, where do you see their record this year? I will rattle it off really quickly, and then just give me a record. They start with Temple, at Syracuse, home against Delaware, at Michigan, at home against Ohio State and Michigan State, and then they're on the road at Northwestern, at Illinois, at home against Wisconsin, at Indiana, at Penn State, and finish it off with Maryland. So, counting the out of conference, I think this is a 7-5 team. What say you?
I'm not as bullish, but I do like where your head's at. Schiano's done it once at this program. His already committed 22 recruiting class is very promising. The question is, can he do it a second time? The first time he did it, college football wasn't in the same place it is now. It wasn't, the spread them out vertical game that it was when he won the first time. He won with, a much more traditional offense. So we'll see if he can copy that mold or if he's going to, use a more progressive offensive approach. I've got them at 5-7. I do have them beating Northwestern in Northwestern. We'll get to Northwestern in a minute because they've got a lot of bodies to replace. Rutgers is returning a lot of starters. They're not going to be an easy out. They weren't an easy out last year. I am very, very, very have a lot of anxiety about that game in week 4 at the Big House because that's usually one of the first Big Ten games of the year for Michigan. After they've, punched around, the Mississippi School for the Blind for 3 weeks, and Harbaugh doesn't have a great history in those games. So that one makes me really nervous. But at Northwestern.
So real quick, you're saying 5-7, and what would be your best guess in the division? Because we got to get to Northwestern.
I would say 3rd or 4th, but they'll be around there.
3rd or 4th? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Third or fourth at 5 and 7. You're basically saying that division's trash. Okay. Northwestern, what you got?
Yeah, Northwestern's got a tall task now. If there's anybody that can do it, it's Pat Fitzgerald. But you're replacing Peyton Ramsey, who secured the quarterback room as a transfer out of Indiana in what was going to be the worst quarterback situation in the Big Ten before he transferred. Rashawn Slater, who was drafted in the top 10 picks, Greg Newsome, who was drafted in the top 15 picks, and 7 other starters on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. I don't love their schedule either. At Michigan, at Wisconsin, both really tough games. They do get Iowa at home, and they do dodge Ohio State altogether. So I think they'll be closer to the top of the division, but I don't think what people are going to remember last about them is them, playing nice in a bowl game and playing for the Big Ten title. I don't think that's who Northwestern is. I think they're much more of a middle of the pack team. They should go undefeated and they're out of conference. They've got Indiana State, Duke, and Ohio. I don't see any of those being a threat. But in the Big Ten, 9 games, give me 5 and 4. I think it's going to be a step back before Pat can take another step forward.
Okay, but their overall record?
8 and 4.
8 and 4. So we are exact opposites on this.
Ooh.
So where do you have Northwestern finishing in that division?
So at 5 and 4, that would put them. I think that would put them 3rd or 4th. They're in the division with. Let me look up the divisions really quick. I suddenly had a brain cramp.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, I've got Northwestern finishing 6th in the Big Ten, and I think they're going to be
okay.
I think they're going to be closer to 4 and 8, 5 and 7 type. I don't think this is going to be a very good team. They got 3 returners on offense, 4 returners on defense. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and stand on it. I'm going to say the Northwestern is going to be the worst team in that division. They're going to be finished in 7th and finish 4 and 8. That's where I've got them going, because I think they're going to probably beat Indiana State. They're probably going to struggle at Duke. Ohio, they should win. So I've got them 2 and 1 out of conference, and then I think they're going to struggle in the Big Ten. You named some really difficult matchups, and I think Purdue and Illinois are going to find a way to be better than Northwestern. And honestly, that final game of the season, Northwestern at Illinois, that might be for deciding who's in the pecking order in that division. And I'm going to just go lean with Illinois because the game's at home. I believe.
Yeah, just really quick, the divisions are: the West is Northwestern, Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Nebraska, Purdue, Illinois. Basically, if you just draw a line, at Chicago and say, here, West is here, East is here. And then the East is, everybody else.
So dumb by the Big Ten, because you put most of the powerhouses in one division. And
listen, when they first went into divisions, they called it legends and leaders, and it took me years. I'm still scarred by that. So the fact that they're even doing East West is progress. They'll fix it.
Eye rolls and puking. We're like, what the hell? You call it?
But to answer your question, that I was brain cramping. Who was in that division? I think they're 4th in that division. I think Iowa, Wisconsin, and Minnesota are all better than them.
Yeah, they. I honestly believe that. I think they might be the worst in the division, because when Northwestern doesn't have senior leadership, they're usually very pedestrian because they don't get the best athletes. So I've got them finishing last. We'll see what happens with that. You've got them finishing. We'll just give you the benefit of the doubt, say 4th. I don't think you really have them finishing 3rd, do you, Northwestern?
No,
okay.
Absolutely not.
So you said 3rd or 4th a second ago. So we'll say we'll give you 4th. I'm going 7th. That means Northwestern is your Big Ten champion. Believe that. Let's go ahead and turn back time and get the hell out of here. I've got a good walk off for you today, by the way. All right, here we go. Turn back time. On this date in 1971, in addition to hitting 2 home runs and driving in 3 runs, Rick Wise throws only 95 pitches to 28 batters, no hits. The Phillies hurler, will hit 2 home runs in the same game again later on that season in August. What the hell? What, man, that's a too bad fantasy baseball wasn't around back then. I saw this in the game. I was like, this guy hits 2 home runs, drives in 3 runs. Shohei Ohtani, who? It pitches a no-hitter. Dude, if that happened today with Ohtani, dude, you'd have to get a complete DNA testing at the ESPN center. They would just be all, I mean, it would just be nasty. You have a black light and everything. They'd just be all bleh. Okay. Birthdays. By the way, I finally forwarded the clip of this video on Twitter to Joey. He had never seen why I use this song. Are you familiar with this song?
No.
Look at what I tweeted to Joey late last night. It's a clip of this song. You don't hear this part because I grabbed the clean part of it because the nasty part's pretty nasty, but it's from the league and it's hilarious. You will laugh your ass off. They're at a kid's party. He's singing this ridiculously dirty song, and the parents are like, "What the hell are you doing?" And then there's one guy, singing and drinking in the background. If y'all have not watched the league, I can't endorse it more. I steer clear of it for years. I was like, I watched one episode at some point, thought it was stupid, and then the pandemic happened. I said, well, I might as well watch something, and I laughed my ass off all last summer because of that. All right, happy birthday. Do you remember Mr. Brandon Stokely?
I do remember Mr. Brandon Stokely, one of the best tipped catches in NFL history.
He is 45 years young today, so we say happy birthday to him. I'm going to grab you a dead guy, too, okay? How about that? Well, I think these dead guys get overlooked, so I feel like we need to do more dead guys and live guys. How about this guy? Cyclone Taylor. Ever heard of him?
Sounds like a professional wrestler name. I'm not familiar.
Close. Canadian Hockey Hall of Fame rover. I guess that was a position that was, I think a rover. I think of football in the late 80s, early 90s. They always had that rover position. Stanley Cup winner in 1909 Ottawa and 1915 Vancouver. Shame on y'all for not knowing who Cyclone Taylor is. By the way, that's a great name. Like, if I was an Ottawa or Vancouver fan, I would get his full name on a jersey. You don't know who Cyclone Taylor is, man. He's a Hall of Fame rover. Born in 1884, you jerks. All right. Anyways,
I almost rescued a dog this weekend, and that anytime I hear the word rover, I think of dogs. So,
I have much more fun with this on Tuesday, where I ask our young squire Bobby if he's ever heard of a guy. So if you haven't watched the Tuesday show, Sean, Bobby's not drinking age. Okay. So, but an avid sports fan reminds me of us at that age, right? Just drinking it all in. So it's a lot of fun to have him on the show and because I like to get his perspective on sport because he sees it differently than us. Right.
Sure.
And so, but some of the names that I'll throw at him, he's like, I don't know who the hell are you? I don't even know what sport you're talking about when you throw a name, and it'll make you feel old, dude. You'll be like, oh no, how do you not know who this guy is? But heck, if you were asking me when I was 20 about some guy that played in the 1950s, which would be about the same, ilk, I'd be lost too. Okay, what is your walk-off for the day, sir?
My walk-off is go Tigers tonight. Everybody, if you have a chance to watch it, watch Matt Manning. This is the next, this is who we think is going to be their next Justin Verlander, our next Justin Verlander as a Tigers fan. His first start was, pedestrian. He was fine. Went 5, struck out 3, walked 2, gave up a few runs. Nothing, it certainly wasn't Strasburg against the Pirates, but
no, but
we'll see in start number 2. The stuff was there though. The fastball is real.
He could be Logan Gilbert, right? Remember Logan Gilbert when he came up, first couple of starts was not that impressive, and he's progressed nicer. Look, anything's better than what Kyle Wright's been doing. So I'll be focusing on that. I hope I see something outstanding. I don't believe I will, because if he was impressing that much in the minors, why wouldn't he have been the first guy that was called to action on Monday and not Mueller, right?
I know we got to run and you got Braves country later. Over under 30 days before the Braves make a big trade. Think it's not happening at all?
We're at the 23rd over. I really think, first of all, AA said something very telling in the booth yesterday or the day before. He made the comment about these next several days are very big. And it's because they're finishing up a 4-game series against New York. Now they've got another series next weekend against New York. And I think that if they're if they don't crap the bed because they got to go to Cincy for 4, okay, starting tomorrow. I think if they're in the thick of it, you're going to see Atlanta be fairly aggressive at the break. But I don't think – but if they don't win today and they do terribly the next week, they might become sellers. And you might see the Drew Smileys and the Charlie Mortons go by. Dude, if we're out of it, what would Charlie Morton get you at this point? I mean, because he's being nasty. I hope we're buyers. But if Kyle Wright goes out and does Kyle Wright things today, we could be sellers. My walk-off today is not only do we have the big game tonight in the NHL, we've got obviously Eastern Conference Finals start tonight, but there's some good baseball and it starts early on today. I think the first pitch is the first game is 1:05, Nats Phillies. I want to see what happens, Sean. Nats Phillies. Do they go at it? Because I believe there's going to be some tension, and Manfred can blame it all himself. My walk-off for you today is National Detroit Pizza Day, or Detroit Style Pizza Day. So watch your Matt Manning with a slice of Little Caesars, I guess, because that's what I think of when I think of. I think I've lost Sean. I don't believe he can hear me. So we'll go ahead and say goodbye. And go Braves. Braves country will be coming to you up here very shortly. And also we'll catch you up to speed on some things we couldn't get to on Take Me Out to the Ball Game today. Have a great day, y'all.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another cigarette.